What if I told you that some of the best financial advice you'll ever get wasn't dreamed up by a modern guru, but was actually written down over 2,000 years ago? Well, today we're diving into an ancient guide to wealth that is just as powerful now as it was then. Yeah, you heard that right. We are going way, way back. Think about it. More than 2,000 years ago, long before the stock market, before crypto, before banking apps even existed. Someone wrote down a complete science for creating, managing, and, most importantly, using wealth. And what's wild is that the ideas in this text are so profound, they feel like they could have been written yesterday. And that, right there, is the big question we're going to tackle. Can this ancient playbook really give us secrets to handle our crazy, complex, modern financial lives? I think the answer is going to surprise you. All right, so let's get right into it. The source of all this wisdom is a text called the Arthashastra. It was written by an absolute genius of a strategist and philosopher named Kautilya. He was an advisor to an emperor in ancient India, and people often call him the Indian Machiavelli because of how sharp and pragmatic he was. And Kautilya built his whole philosophy on this one powerful, simple truth. He basically said, hey, there's no shame in wanting wealth. In fact, it's essential. You can't really go after your big life goals, happiness, learning, your true purpose, if you're constantly worried about your next meal. That's as real today as it was back then. And the name itself tells you everything you need to know. Artha means wealth or material well-being, and Shastra means science. So the Arthashastra is literally the science of wealth. Think of it as a user's manual for how money works and how to make it work for you. So where do we start? According to Kautilya, it's not with some crazy high-risk scheme to get rich overnight. Nope. It starts with something much, much more important. He said your number one job before anything else is to get stable. And doesn't that sound familiar? It's exactly what we hear today. Before you invest big, before you take that huge risk, you need a solid foundation. You need savings, an emergency fund, and just good old financial discipline. Everything else gets built on top of that. Okay, so your foundation is secure. Now what? Well, Kautilya says you can't just kick back and relax. It's time to get your money moving. See, his big insight was that money sitting still, well, it loses its power. Wealth isn't meant to be stuffed under a mattress. It's meant to be active. It grows through work, through investing, through innovation. It has to stay in motion. So how do we put our money in motion in our world? Kautilya's advice translates perfectly. First, never stop learning new skills. That's how you boost your earning power. Second, don't just save, invest consistently. And third, stay plugged in. You gotta pay attention to your finances, not just set it and forget it. And speaking of growth, Kautilya was a massive believer in diversification. Just like an ancient king wouldn't rely on one single gold mine for all his treasure, you shouldn't rely on one single paycheck. This is the timeless wisdom behind having side hustles and spreading out your investments. It's just smart risk management straight out of the ancient world. Now, making money is one thing, but holding on to it and managing it well, that's a whole different ballgame. And this is where Kautilya gets super practical and, frankly, pretty strict. Get this, Kautilya was basically the original inventor of budgeting. He believed that even a powerful kingdom could crumble if it wasn't tracking its money down to the last coin. He even laid out punishments for officials who were careless with funds. What we call mindful spending isn't some new fad, it's ancient, proven wisdom. And he was no idealist. He knew people. He knew that wherever you find a pile of money, you're also going to find risk. Risk from bad choices, from temptation, from scams. So growing your wealth is only half the job. The other half is protecting it. So how do we protect our wealth today? The principles are exactly the same. Be wary of those too good to be true deals. Give yourself a regular financial checkup, just like you would for your health. And for goodness sake, make sure you're using platforms and working with people you actually trust. Protection is every bit as important as growth. Okay, so let's imagine you've done all this. You've built that solid foundation, your money is actively growing, and you're protecting it like a hawk. What's next? What is all of this actually for? And this, my friends, is where Kautilya's philosophy goes from just smart to truly profound. Because for him, just piling up money was never the end goal. It was just the tool for a much, much bigger purpose. This is the core of it all. Wealth is supposed to be our tool, not our master. It should work for us, for our families, for our communities. The second we start working for it, we've completely lost the plot. For Kautilya, a truly prosperous person, or kingdom, was one that used its wealth to lift everyone up. This is the ancient origin story for modern ideas like philanthropy, impact investing, or just supporting causes you care about. Your wealth finds its real meaning when it's used to make not just your life better, but to build a better future for everyone. So, if we boil all this ancient wisdom down, what do we get? It's these 5 simple but powerful rules. Earn your money with integrity, spend it with purpose, invest it consistently, protect it carefully, and finally, use it to do some good in the world. Because in the end, what this 2,000-year-old guide is screaming at us across the centuries is that true wealth, it's not a number in your bank account. It's a life built on wisdom, a life that has balance, and a life that's guided by a real sense of purpose. And that really just leaves us with one final thought to chew on. As you go about your own journey, which piece of this ancient wisdom really hit home for you? And what are you going to do to apply it to your life, starting today?